Okay, hello everybody. Good morning. Just waiting for it to fully load. There we go. If you are watching the replay, comment hashtag replay. If you are here live, say hello so I can see that I can see the comments, but also see who is on and watching live. So feel free to comment hello and where you're located as well. Let's see. Hey Linnell, thank you. It's telling me no one's watching, but then you commented, so hopefully Facebook isn't acting out for me. Awesome, there we go. Perfect. Says no one's watching, but that's fine. Okay, good morning. Hello everybody. Thank you for being here. We are going to be talking about my real estate investing journey pretty much, and where I started and what were the best acquisition processes at the time. Now things have changed, but I'm still going to give you really good tips. Now as far as the full acquisition process, we will be talking more about this on Thursday's live, so I'm not going to get into specifics. I'm just giving you where I was and all of that and the easiest method of the acquisition process. Since so many of you that I see on here that I've talked to, you guys are new, I figured this would be very helpful during this week, right? And so I wanted to talk about that, the learning curve, and how I did this with no assistance. So a little background on me is I started this when I was 25, 26 years old. I'd actually just really turned 26. I'm coming into 7 years in October. And I really wanted a way to make money in real estate, and I was flat broke. So I literally, when I tell you I had maxed out my credit cards, I had actually doubled my credit card limit. Don't even know how I managed that to this day. And I was broke. I had no money and nothing. And so everything I had to do was built from the ground up. I mean, I'm talking nothing. I didn't have money to hire assistants. I didn't have money to pay for leads. I didn't have money to pay for anyone to skip trace for me. I didn't have money to do anything. And in fact, Laura had to lend me my $10 earnest money. She had to lend me, Laura's my mother, for those of you that are new here, she's in the group as well, so look out for her name, it's Laura Heath. And she had to lend me as well money for my LLC. Like, that's how broke I was. I had nothing. And I wanted to do things that were easiest to me. I was not a fan of cold calling. I was not a fan of any of that kind of stuff, okay? So just kind of keep that in mind as we go through here. And let's talk a little bit about the easiest method for me. So the easiest method for me, honestly, in the beginning, because I was not a fan of cold calling, was to text. I texted the sellers. Now, I have done, over the last 7 years, so many deals via text alone. I'm not joking. Now, it's starting to get a little more outdated because everyone's texting, but I still recommend it for those of you that are really worried about getting on the phone, is to do things that feel good to you. And because I'm a millennial and I like texting, I was like, well, let me try it. And this was before it got really big. This was 7 years ago. And I can tell you that that was the game changer for me, was to text my sellers. And then I would do deals through that, and I would actually I would hire out for people to call. I would only call if I really only had a few leads to do. But other than that, it was mainly my first point of contact was text messages, and it worked. I tell my students all the time, I had one deal, I did a 4-package deal solely through text. My first deal through text, he didn't want to get on the phone, and I found out later, he had told me, he's like, thank you for doing this. I have a really bad stutter, and it's very embarrassing for me to be on the phone. And he said, I was really comfortable because you were willing to text me through all of this. So it's text messaging was how I started my acquisition process in real estate. And it's the easiest method for me to this day. If I have to jump in, I don't like being on the phone, guys. I mean, I don't think you understand. I don't even like being on the phone with people I know. Like, it's just something I just don't ever like to do. I'm very awkward, believe it or not, on the phone. I have a lot of pauses, and I don't know if it's just because I'm used to texting. But for me, it's just very hard. I also started cold calling for someone else in New York. No offense if you're from New York, but they were incredibly mean to me. New Yorkers were incredibly rude, and it scared me out of cold calling. So my biggest tip for you when you are looking for a method of outreach into the acquisition process, and we will dive deeper into this on Thursday, is to know your demographics. We'll talk about that more on Thursday at the live at 11 a.m. But to do what feels good to you. But it's not a matter of fear. It wasn't fear of getting on the phone, okay? Because if it's fear of getting on the phone, then you should be calling anyway. We face our fears in this group, right? It's not a matter of fear. It's I do not like being on the phone. I do not like it. I've never been a phone person. I would much rather get on Zoom. I know it's weird because it's basically the same thing. I would much rather do that kind of thing. But if you try to call me, I'm like, I'm not going to answer half the time. So it's just one of those things. And so work around what works for you. And I tell this to my students all the time. Look for what works for you and do what makes you feel good. And screw what everything else says. But it's not because of fear. It's because you genuinely just don't like it. I like texting. Now, I have a friend that does like to be on the phone, but she has a fear of cold calling. You know what I made her do? I made her cold call anyway, and she got over it. But it was a fear. It wasn't a general or a genuine dislike for what she was doing. So if you are someone that does like to be on the phone, use that as your superpower. Use that as, if you love talking to people, like my friend, the lady that some of you met on our team, Rachel, she genuinely loves being on the phone. She genuinely loves talking and getting to know with people and connecting with people. And she shines. That's her thing. So hire people in that position for you. That's their thing. I mean, me personally, I could be like, I could never call 1 million people a day. That's just not my thing. But I have people that genuinely are like, this is exciting for me. I love it. Like, I count how many no's I get and make it a game. Like, this is a thing for people. So find what works for you and do what works best for you. If you, like Michelle says, I wanted to do with mailings. If you have the budget on mailing, then do it. But mailing can be a very high budget for a very low return. And so just be very careful with that. I don't recommend doing direct mail as your first point of contact. That is actually later in the game for me, which I'll talk about Thursday. But if you have that, then do that. And so with that being said, talking on the phone, Leah, there you go. So the awkwardness will fade as you get used to it. Think of Juan, our coach that trains you on Thursdays, right? How confident he is on the phone. I mean, he is so confident, but it's taken years and years and years for him to get to that confidence you hear when you listen to him doing live calls. It took time. It took him faking it till he made it. It took him talking to them as if they're friends. It takes that time. It takes that ability, and as you do more, the fear will start dissipating. But the only way you're going to get rid of that fear is if you do the task, because then you're going to start seeing it's really not as bad. We even had one student once, she's like, I did the task. She was like, I was terrified, but I did it, and yeah, I fumbled, but the seller still wants to work with me because she did it anyway. So she did it, even though she's like, I completely blew this thing, but she's like, it's fine. And you don't have years, that's fine, but you all start somewhere, right? You all start somewhere, and slowly and surely you will get better and train better and feel confident. Like for me, for Facebook Lives, do not go back. But if you go back, for like the beginning of when we started lives, I was a mess. Like there was one time I just redid the whole live. I deleted it, and at the beginning of the live, I was like, that was horrible, let's redo. Like, it takes time to get good, and even now I'll still get off and be like, that was a horrible live, and then you guys are in the comments like, this is amazing, this is great, like this was the best live ever, and I'm like, all right. So we are our worst critic. So easiest method, going back on track, is do what works for you. In the beginning, for me, it was text messaging. Now that is starting to get played out, but you can still jump on the board and start texting, calling, and jumping into direct mail when the budget is there. Direct mail has a less than 1% response rate. So really keep that in mind. That means out of 100 letters, you may get 1 to 2 people that may call you, and it may not even show that it's that they're interested. And we'll talk again more about this on Thursday. So be really, really careful. But I have friends and I have other students and people that have a very high budget. They do direct mail and they love it. They do very targeted direct mailings, and they're fine, and their return is fine, and they're happy with that. I mean, but they send out 5,000 letters at a time. They do that kind of thing, and it works for them. You find what works for you. And so I want, if Michelle, you're like, I have the budget and I'm going to do this and I'm just going to be very targeted with it, then go for it. Like by all means, I'm really for what works for you guys. Now, obviously we have to push you past your fears. As I stated, we need to push you past your fears. If it's a fear-based thing, that's very different, okay? So I don't want fears to control any of the ladies in this group, any of my students. I don't allow that, right? The second I feel like you guys have fears, I always try and nip it as soon as possible and trying to encourage you. This isn't a negative thing. Fears are healthy. Fears keep you in a safe spot, but we don't grow from safe spots. And so we talk about that a lot in this group. So this is what helpful. I did it. So to get back on track, I talk a lot about having assistants now. That's how you delegate, that's how you scale. But in the beginning, I had nothing. I didn't have assistants. So texting was another thing that worked because I could do that in between working. You know, I didn't have to stop and go make calls and call like 10 sellers at a time. I was able to text and I was able to do that around my lifestyle. And then when it got to a point where I had to get on the phone with them, I was warmed up to them. I was confident in what to say, and I could schedule that time to talk to them, or I could go and take the break because I did work from home. It was just a full-time job, so I had other responsibilities to, you know, Laura when I worked for her, and also the other client that I had who was the reason I got into real estate. So you want to make sure that you can do something that works and really good for you and your business at the time. But I still do recommend cold calling. We will talk about the acquisition process. Nothing is better than talking to the seller directly. But we will talk about that on Thursday. So building that around, I didn't get an assistant until I closed my first deal, and then it was the first thing I did because I wanted to grow massively. And so I got a VA to start texting and doing the initial reach outs for me, do the initial calls, somebody that really did all of that. And so we talk a lot about that in our training. We talk a lot about how to delegate things out, and we talk about really how to delegate and scale so that you scale. And I've done this on webinars. I do this extensively with our students when they are at that point. I do talk to them. We actually do sit down with you and say, this is what you're going to do to really scale. This is who you need to hire. And their team can actually get on the team calls with us so that they can be trained by us, which honestly is the best way to get them into things. So we talk a lot about that here. But your best bet is to start with what works for you. And Laura, the only way you're going to know the answer is by getting asked the questions. You're not going to know, and I'm saying that because I'm about to close out anyway, you're not going to know every answer. I say this every week. I can tell you 1,000 ways you're going to talk to a seller and you're going to come across 1,001. The best thing you can do is have people you trust, like mentors, where you can say, okay, I don't know the answer to that, but let me talk to my business partner and I will give you a call back by this time. I will give you a call at 3 p.m. Eastern with all the answers to the questions that you have on the call for me today. There's nothing wrong with saying you don't know. If I can bluff it, I will to a point, but I am never going to lie to a seller and give them an answer unless I at least know for sure that that's close to what it is, right? Like, like it's like depending on what it is, I can give them estimates, but I always say, let me call you back at 3 p.m. Eastern and do all that. You're never going to know all the answers, guys. You're never going to have the perfect marketing strategy. I have to tweak mine all the time. It's constantly changing. You're never going to know the perfect things to say. I still mess up. You're never going to know every answer. I mean, if you might, if you're Laura, if you're my mom, you may know every answer. But for like people like us that are still gradually growing in this business and haven't done thousands of deals, it's a little harder, right? And so you have to be okay with the unknown. You have to be okay with not knowing what to say all the time. You have to be okay with making mistakes, because if you're not making mistakes, you're not learning. You're not, right? You're not moving forward. You're not doing what you need to do. And so I don't know how this turned into a mindset session, but it always does with me. You have to be okay with doing that. You have to be okay with failing and making mistakes. And if you go back to the live I did last week on Thursday, which you should if you haven't, failure and anyone that's successful, it's not that they don't have fears. It's not that they don't worry about making mistakes or failing. It's that they push forward anyway despite those fears and those mistakes. I can tell you I have fallen on my ass in this business at least 3 times in the last 7 years. I have messed things up royally. I've upset sellers. It's happened. You know, even on the coaching side, it happens where we make mistakes. We're not perfect. We're human, and we have to stop trying to be. That's why I share a lot with you guys about the downsides of my life too, right? Like, my life is not all, $1,000,000 and happiness and all of this stuff. I suffer from depression. I have other issues I have. There are times where things go very, very wrong in my life, and I'm very open about sharing a lot of that with you guys so that you can see that now social media is just this thing to make everyone think their lives are perfect, and it's not. So you want to be very, very true to your sellers as well, and authentic. And if you just don't know something, you don't. We were going to talk about Thursday, the acquisition process. I'm going to share with you what we do. Obviously, on a vaguer scale, I'm going to be honest with you here, because I have students that deserve, because they pay for it. I'm sorry, I don't mean deserve, but like, I can't share every detail of every training we do, right? But I can at least give you guys enough to get going. And then if you need help, you can join our program if you're interested. We do offer coaching. We offer a mentorship for you guys. It's a phenomenal mentorship. We have a few students on here. We are very detailed. We offer group coaching calls. We train you specifically on how to talk to sellers, what are the appropriate questions to ask. We even give you scripts on the text messaging. We give you scripts to make calls. We have a whole training on Thursdays solely dedicated to negotiations and connecting with sellers and what to say and how to get them down on these inflated prices and all of that. And I would like to agree that our students are really happy with the course overall, that they get what they need, and we are always catering to our students. It is to make sure that you have the best out of your program. If a coach is giving you some cookie cutter approach to real estate, you're not going to be as successful as someone that customizes literally everything to you as the person and your lifestyle. That's why I'm very much about what works for you. And like Liette, she said, okay, I'm good on calling, but I'm not good at acquisitions. Then Liette knows what I'm about to say to her. You're going to study, and you're going to get really good at cold calling, and you are going to make it your biatch, right? Like, you're just going to make it your thing. You are going to be phenomenal at it. You're good at being on the phone. You're good at connecting with people. Then let's make that your superpower, right? Thanks, Linnell. You guys make me laugh. So let's work on that as well, right? So that's the things that we hear, and then we fix it. And like, students are like, I want to believe that this is possible. No, you do believe that this is possible, or you wouldn't be here. It's all talking. It's all mindset. I say it every week. 80% of this business is mindset. Get out of your own way. And I help you guys with every step of it. And so, with that being said, join me at 11 a.m. on Thursday. If you are interested in becoming a student, we are offering that. This is year-round, but things change, okay? So pricing is about to change. Those of you that are students, you're grandfathered in. Pricing will be changing by our retreat. I'm just being honest here. That's the goal. It may change right after it. It's going to change around that time. I do not know. If you are interested in learning how to become a student with REIW and to be with these phenomenal women that are in my chat, most of you, then I'm going to give you an option to schedule a call with us. You do work with me and Laura. You do not work with a bunch of coaches. Now, we do have other coaches that help us, and you will work with them because they're phenomenal in the field that we have them for, like Juan with the cold calling and acquisitions and marketing. I mean, there's nobody better in this field. I'm sorry. I have not met one person that is better than Juan at talking. I used to have an office next to him. I heard him all day talking to sellers and buyers and negotiating. And there's no one, I have never heard someone that is just as smooth as he is and is amazing. Thank you, Leah. So, with that being said, I want you to, if you are heavily wanting to reach your goals, you want to reach your goals here in the next couple of months, you want to do deals, I invite you to schedule a call with us. I'm going to put it here, this link, right here. Get on the phone with us, and let's see how we can make it happen for you. We will make it happen. We are there every day in our group, in our thing, and all that. In the meantime, go have fun, and rock talking to sellers, rock getting to know who you are as a person, what are your strengths as a person. And we talked about this yesterday on the call, did we not, guys? Becoming what you're good at, and do what that is, and then hire the rest out when you start making some money. You don't know how to build a website? Who the fuck cares? You don't need one now. I don't have a website. think about it. I mean, I do for the coaching, but my students, they haven't seen a real estate website because I don't have one. And I'm still very successful with that, right? So, Rachel, I will PM you personally. But yeah, give me some feedback, what you thought about this. Who's going to be on the live Thursday at 11 a.m. Talking about the acquisition. So we are going to do an Ask Us Anything at the end of that. We are going to do the raffle. And we are really just heavily inside and helping you guys out there as well. Okay? Have a wonderful day. Definitely schedule a call. We would love to talk to you. Wendy, I'm so glad you did too. I knew you were going to come around. It was just a matter of time. So we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a wonderful day. And check out the group. We have a lot of fun stuff going out. Like a lot of fun stuff. All right. Bye, everybody.